Okay, I was born in Minsk. This was the capital of Belarus, now a separate state, but at that time it was part of the Soviet Union, one republic. And I was born in 1935. Before the war, I actually didn't know anything about Germany. I don't remember. I really didn't understand. You see, I was 5, 6 years old to understand what the Nazi rule. But probably I read about what happened in Germany, but I couldn't understand that. When the war started, and people were very agitated at that moment, and I remember one thing, what I did in the morning. I put everything what I had. What I had was anti-gas mask in a big pouch. But it was for children, especially. I put it on. I put my toy pistol. I had a sword that I made by myself, and a toy rifle, and I have a cap from Russian Civil War. Everything I put on. And we had a woman, a Polish woman. He was like my babysitter. And she took me to the store, and I remember one woman came and said, now we will not be scared of Germans because we have somebody to defend us. I realized that war is something very, very bad. That many people in Minsk, I mean mostly Jewish people and other people, didn't realize what happened because many people, 40 years old and older, they remembered Germans who came to this place in World War I. There was occupation for a very short period. And I remember what they said. There was a lot of people, they said, oh, we remember the Germans. They used to come to our house, and if a soldier, officer, look on something, oh, I like this item, I will take it, and that is all. They didn't curse people, didn't abuse people, and that is why nothing will happen. And many people didn't want to live because of that. And there was no anti-Nazi propaganda. So what we need to do, we will not do it. But not all people do the same way, because we left the city the next day, June 23rd, because my father got tickets on the train, and he came and said, now we will take everything what we can in a couple small suits and maybe bag and so on, and we'll go. And we went on foot, and we spent 5 hours to walk, because every 15 minutes the reconnaissance planes and siren started, and we tried to find the shelter in entrance and building entrances to wait, sometimes half an hour or so. And finally, at 10 o'clock in the evening, we came to a railroad station, and it was a train, the passenger train, but full of people.
What did you think you were doing? Did you know what you were doing at the time?
I understood that we were escaping from Germans. And when we left, the next morning at 4 o'clock, they started bombing of the city. And city was built mostly from wood. It was the whole city burned. My father left that evening. He put us to the train and went to his military unit. And it was me, my mother, and a couple other relatives. What we discussed, all talking was about war, because there was no other subject. Mm-hmm. And people didn't know what will happen to them. In the city, my sister was born over there, but she died later, 3 weeks later, because after that we started to move as the refugees. They didn't call us refugees. They didn't like that. word. Because refugee in your own country. When we started to move from this town, we moved in railroad cars for cargo. It was not passenger. I remember was inscription on the car was 40 people or 8 horses. We moved for 3 months. In the end, like in October, November, or something like that, we came close to Chinese border in Kazakhstan. I spent 4 months in orphanage. It was at that time I have my father and my mother was alive, but the hospital moved close to front and they didn't want me to be there. Stupid decision. In this place, it was about 150 boys, only boys. The situation in this orphanage was very, very bad. Lack of food. And we were hungry. I remember that I used to walk around. If I found some peel from potatoes, I take. My father left a couple loaves of bread and asked lady to give me when I need. But everything was stolen, you know, they used to steal food. But many people were good for us. Some people in this area or even in Siberia, they never seen Jewish people at all. Mm-hmm. And there were many of them who, when they see Jews the first time, said, "Oh, we see normal people. We thought the Jewish people are different. They have horns." Mm-hmm. See?
Do you remember the day of liberation?
At that time, it was July the 3rd of 1944. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I was with my parents. My mother was very sick at that time because when we were in Kazakhstan, she got, what is it called? Typhus. Mm-hmm. Very bad disease. And she couldn't recover from it. My father was in front. He was in Moscow area, was wounded 2 times, 3 times. And I remember that my mother, she was very, very sick and weak at that time, ill. And she said that I need to go to look what happened to the city. And when she came back, she was absolutely devastated, and she died a couple of weeks later. She was 29 years old at that time, and I was in 44, I was 9. I was 9. I was lucky, I had father. My father died in 77. And my father was in the military service up to 47. In 47, he left the army and we came back to Minsk. And at that time, the city was in ruin. The situation in Minsk was very, very bad. There was no place where to live. And at the beginning we lived, I remember that was like 9 people slept in one small room. Can you imagine that? Some people slept on the table, on the table. I went to school, 5th grade. It was very hard because we couldn't buy clothes, and what I had, I could use for many, many years. But my father worked very hard. He was not very healthy man after this. I have this experience, and when I ask this question, how it could happen, I don't know. Maybe even Elie Wiesel, the biggest specialist in Holocaust, will not be able to answer the question. How this nation, I mean German nations, on the so high level of development, how they came to that? If you look on everything mathematically, in the situations that I was, I had probably 98% or 99% to become a victim. And only 1% to escape and 1% to survive.
What do you think will keep it from happening again?
I think that evil exists, really exists, and we have many, many examples of that. Can we eradicate evil? I don't know. But we need to work at it.